The principle of charity is the idea that when criticizing an argument that has multiple plausible interpretations, one ought to focus on the interpretation that makes the argument seem the strongest. The value of this practice is that sometimes good arguments are imperfectly expressed, and one ought not dismiss a good argument simply because the person making that argument articulated it poorly. While it's often amusing to poke fun at poorly formed arguments, I try to be charitable toward them as well. When I criticize a poorly formed argument, I'll often say, "It seems like what you're saying is X, which is obviously wrong. Lol. But perhaps what you meant to say was Y, which is also wrong." It makes sense to be charitable toward fallible human beings. But some apologists also insist that I be charitable in my interpretation of the Bible, which does not really make much sense. If the Bible really is a perfect infallible document, why would anyone need to apply the principle of charity? The principle of charity is only necessary when dealing with the assertions of fallible people. A perfect document ought to be perfectly clear, rather than filled with several apparent contradictions that seem incomprehensible without the application of some Byzantine hermeneutical breakdown. A perfect document shouldn't even require any hermeneutics at all, let alone the volumes upon volumes of works that are sometimes dedicated to a single confusing passage. The Bible is so opaque in parts that it seems to require not just a charitable interpretation, but an interpretation more charitable than would be reasonable to grant to a human being who wrote something comparably impenetrable. I also have a Patreon if you're into that kind of thing.